Hello Ravencoin lovers, Raven Rebels here with a development video. We are gonna do stuff on Ravencoin, just pure JavaScript code. We don't install anything, we don't download anything, we don't even need a local node, Ravencore node, because we have set up Ravencoin nodes as like a blockchain as a service. Which means that it's a complete hassle-free experience to get up running, to kickstart your development, to start doing stuff, building proof of concept, no installation, no downloads, no nothing. What am I talking about? Let's see here. You can go to ting.finance and there you can see our roadmap for 2023. We're going to build some blockchain APIs, developer stuff, software to send receive Raven on testnet. That's the goal for the first part of 2023. The second part of 2023 is to create software to sell and buy tokens and assets on Ravencoin. Make sure that we comply with the regulations and then open source everything. We are going to focus on phase 1 here. So we're going to click on this link, which takes us to RPC, ting.finance. RPC, remote procedure calls. You can now make RPC calls to Ravencoin testnet, to Ravencoin mainnet. You don't need to install anything. And in this video, we're going to be the full Monty. We go for mainnet. So we click mainnet. Now we are at Raven RPC mainnet, ting finance. And you can read all about it here yourself. And so you see that we have this endpoint that we are going to make some requests to. And we have some documentations showing us all the methods or procedures that we can call. And we have fully working examples. Like this, we will use this example as a base in this video. First off, let's click this live example to see what does it do. What does this example do? Well, it just displays the current block count on Ravencoin. So you see that we will soon have 2,621,000 blocks. 4 more blocks missing. So that's all the code you need. Look at this. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 lines of code to get production data from Ravencore blockchain, no installation. Perfect, we love this. So let's take this example and change it a little bit. And how will we change it? Well, if you look at this article from Tron Black, where on Medium, where he describes the burn addresses for Ravencoin. So when you do certain stuff, you have to pay in Raven, and those Ravens are burned. And when they are burned, they are sent to these 5 addresses. So let's create a script that fetches the balance for these addresses and displays it on a web page like this. Let's get started. So we create a folder, demo. And in this folder, we open up Visual Studio Code. And today, no installation, no nothing. We just make new file, index.html. No, we shouldn't paste in the addresses. We should paste in the code. Okay, so we paste in the code. Here we have it. And if you have Node.js installed, hopefully you have, you can always do like npx serve. Means start a web server where I am. So we do that. We start a local web server here and we click. And now you see we are localhost and we can see that we now have 997 blocks, almost 2,621,000. And it's working. Nice. And what is this code actually doing? Well, we are importing Axios. It's just a way of doing networking stuff, much easier than the fetch API. And you see that here we get the block count and then we update the title of the web page and also the content in the middle. So update title and content. But we want to show the balances on the burn addresses. So we copy the burn addresses and we say like const addresses equals, and we want to have an array. So we do some like that. Now we have an array with addresses. And RPC calls are kind of simple in one way, because you send in a method and then you send in parameters, and you call them params. So you send in method and params. And the params is just a list, and it can the number of arguments differ depending on the method, the operation you're going to do. All of that is documented here on the RPC service. So you just, in our case, we check out the documentation and we say, aha, get address balance. That sounds like the thing that we are going to use, right? And we can read and say that, okay, get address balance, then you can have two arguments. The first argument is an object that contains an attribute called addresses with a list of addresses. The second argument is a boolean called include assets, and its default false, so it does not include. If you just send in addresses, you will not get assets, only Raven. So let's start with only Raven. We have the addresses, and we changed the method to this, and I will also increase the font size a little bit here. Like this. Now you can see better. So we have addresses, and we change to get address balance, and the first parameter should be an object that has these addresses. When you write it like this, it's a shorthand. You can also make it like this. So now we have an object with the property addresses, and we send this. So now let's console log the data that we get back. So we inspect wage, and we see that illegal return statement. I was just lazy. We're not doing this anymore. So let's see. Okay, so we get the data is a object with a result property which contains balance. Nice. So first off, let's display this on the web page. So we have here, it's a very short web page. It has an ID called content. Okay. So we say the balance is data.result.balance. And so then we say that the element with the ID of content should get balance to local string. Let's run that code. Okay, that's a huge number. And why is this a huge number? Well, because Ravencoin, just as Bitcoin, measure everything in like satoshis, meaning 100 millionth of a coin. So we have to split this number by 100 million. How do we do that? Well, we divide by 1 exponent, whatever you say it in English, 8. That means split by 100 million. So now you see 7 million, almost 800,000. So now you have real fresh data from the mainnet. But we did see here in the documentation that we could send in another argument, and that was include assets. And that's kind of fun to see all the assets that people have sent to the burn address. So we do it like this. Const include assets equals true. And that should then be the second argument in the list. Like that. And once again, console out the response, because maybe now we get a different response, because then we send in different, we have other arguments, right? So let's check the console, and we can see that Aha, we have an object with a result, but this time we get an array. And each item in this array is an object with asset name balance. Okay, so now we have to do some looping. First off, instead of having an article on the page with the ID content, let's create a table. And to simplify things, we call the ID table. And we say that the table head should have a table row with a heading, one for assets and one for amount. Let's reload the page. We have a table, asset and amounts. Nice. And then for each item that we get back in this, because now we know that the result is an array. We call it list. Data list. So we do list.map. For each item in this list, do something. And what do we want to do? Well, first of all we create the table row. Document.createElement tr. So now we have a table row. And we want to say document getElement by ID table append child tr. I don't know, we are not adding any textual information, but let's see if... you can't see it because it's empty. And we want to have 2 data cells, right? So we create 2 table data cells. And the first one should have the asset name, and the second one should have asset balance, and we have to split it by 100 million. And now we add them to the table row. Append child td tr append child td2. Now we should actually see something, because now we create a row for each item and we add it to the table. Voila! Nice. Now we see lots of assets have been sent to the burn addresses. And we also see that some of the numbers looks kind of fishy, like this one. So let's decorate that number a little bit. So let's say that balance, for example, might be this value, and maybe we want to math.round it up, and you can also do to locale string. Let's see if that's better. Looks much better. Now you get curious, like how many assets are there? So why not say let's add a span and call it amount. And then we can, before we start looping, we can just say that document get element by ID amount inner text equals list dot length, the length of the list. So this time, now we see that it's 1,203 items. Nice. And if we want to be a little bit fancy-pantsy, we can just add a small tag around this one. Had no effect whatsoever. Let's see if we can emphasize that instead of making it smaller, we emphasize it. Yeah, that's better. And we can do the same thing with this, that not only take the list, we can do to locale string. Oh, I switched my keyboard from Swedish to English. So now it says 1203. Nice. But okay, nice. We have 1,200 assets, but what happened to Raven? Like, we want Raven, right? So let's add a paragraph. We call it content, and say Raven. So then in our code we can just say that, okay, now we go through every item in the list, but we can say RVN. It should be let, because we're gonna change it, and we can say if asset.asset name equals RVN, assign it to the Raven variable. And when we are done looping, we can say that document get element by ID content should have the value of rvn.balance, and we do the same thing here. Math.round balance split by 1 E8 to locale string. Now we should be able to reload the page, and we should see, ta-da! Now we see the amount of burned Raven, and we can see all the assets. And if we want to be just a little bit fancy-pantsy, we can also say that we want to have this we also want to have the Raven balance in the title of the web page. So we see it up there. Why do you want that? Well, maybe, for example, you can place all of this in a function and call this function every 20 seconds or something to make it, and then it will update. So you can just surf around, and you always have the tab here, and you always see the burn rate or something like that. Anyway, so in this video you have seen that it's now it's extremely simple. It's opposite of complex. It's very simple to interact with Ravencoin. Now entrepreneurs, developers, builders, you can start doing stuff. You need very, very, very little, just some modest web knowledge, competence. That's all you need. You have your endpoint, and you start shooting those HTTP post requests. Method params, and you do cool stuff. So for this, or maybe you want to do a website that displays assets or assets under a certain sub asset, or whatever you want to do. You can do lots of stuff. But it's enormously nice that Ravencoiners, Ravencoin lovers, can develop stuff this in a way that is this easy without any hassle. So thank you very much for watching, and if you liked this video, please give it a like or share it or comment. And the likes are very important, because that tells Google and YouTube that there's an interest for these kind of videos, and that will spread the knowledge about Ravencoin. So thank you everyone, have a nice week, bye.